What's up, guys? I'm glad you're here. My name is Drake, and you're listening to the Double Click Podcast by Holy Hill Media. So today it is episode 42. Super excited about this. We've been talking about this for a long time now. I want to say at least 3 months we've been planning this, but I'm with Dan and Brooke Bostelman with Straight Line Outdoor. You guys, thanks so much for being on. Give us a little bit of an introduction. Who are you guys? What's your family dynamic? Who is Dan and Brooke Bostelman?
Hey Drake, how you doing? Glad to be on the show. We're really excited about this, and we're looking forward to today. So, my name is Dan Bostelman, and it's my wife, Brooke Bostelman. And if you want to introduce our kids.
Yeah, so we mom and dad of 3 kids. We have 2 boys, 12 and 11, Kipton and Colton, and we have a sweet little girl daughter that is 6 years old. Indy is her name. So busy in all the sports, doing all the things on top of running a business. So it is fun, but it's cool that they get included all the time too. So.
Absolutely. So you guys are balancing, first of all, being married, having 3 kids, but also doing the business thing together, which is the interesting, fun dynamic that not many people actually get to experience. What is that like? How did you guys, what was the conversation? Let's do business together. Was it like I needed little things here and there from each other? And it's like, well, let's just bring you into the fold. What did that initial conversation look like deciding to work together?
Yeah. I would honestly say it was a long process, but it started with something I really love to do. I was really passionate about just lawn care, landscaping, and then I was working in so many different jobs at the time, but it was just really her seeing something more in me and bringing that out and pushing me into something better than I ever thought I would ever step my foot into. So,
yeah.
Wow.
I think we both had demanding careers as well. He was a police officer. I was full-time military. So both had demanding careers that pulled us in different directions. So I think we had a good heart-to-heart with God as well of, what is the non-negotiables in our family and where do we want to go together? And that was a key factor in making the final decision. It was hard, though. Yeah. He had a great, loved being a police officer, loved doing that stuff, and then kind of had a hobby on the side. But we knew we had to go in full force. That's when he resigned from his position and went in full force with lawn care. And I remained at my job for quite some time so that we could kind of stabilize and grow and know where we want to go direction wise. Yeah. And I would say 2 years ago is when I resigned my full-time position at the Air Force Base and came on full-time here at Straight Line and doing all the administrative duties there.
Wow. So this is crazy. So first of all, I didn't know you were full-time in the Air Force either. I knew Dan was an officer. I did not know that too. Amazing. Thank you both for your service. This story is getting cooler and cooler as it unfolds. So you guys were initially in this place where you had stable jobs, which there's great retirement in both of those careers.
Yeah.
You had to acknowledge the risk.
Yeah.
You had to. There's no way you could have ignored it, right? You had to acknowledge the risk, and you chose to do it anyway. It sounds like that first domino was Brooke, you saying to Dan, I believe in you. I see something in you, calling that out of your husband. Yeah. At this point in time, how much of that has to do with where you guys are at in church, where your community? Is that something that comes later in the story? Where's your faith story at around this time where you're calling that out in Dan and saying, let's do this full time? Yeah.
I think we both have strong values, have strong Christian values as well, both deeply into our faith. I just knew it right at the beginning. He had a great career, loved doing a lot of hobbies, but he's always been a leader. And just speaking that out of him, it was, of course, a hard situation to ask your husband to leave, something that he even worked hard to do. However, you just saw more in him and then just knew it was there. And I trust in God and his obedience as well to continue to do that as a wife, as hard as it was. And just even the obstacles we went through, even in our marriage, as we were doing those transitions. But man, God is faithful and it's helped us in the end. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's the stories can't be separated. What he says and what we have to say can't be separated. You know what I mean? And the further we can align that, without the resistance and I guess the preconceived idea that this is our life to live, the faster we find favor and his blessings with our businesses. And so you guys have experienced that blessing. I mean, you guys have grown wildly. I mean, I don't think there's anybody around the area doing what you guys do to the scale that you guys do it. It's super exciting. I know you have goals, and just talking to you guys previously for even further growth. What were the early days like? Like, what was your team like? And I'm talking before where you guys are just running the business. I'm talking about like the hustle. What were the early days like?
Man, that was crazy. And that goes back to when she was in the military full time. I mean, she was deployed for 6 months when I was.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think I was a police officer still. She was deployed, and we had 2 children at the time. And I mean, there was a lot of like strategic thinking on how to get this operations to run, because I was a one-man show helping to grow the company at that time.
Yeah.
And so it was, who can watch the kids? We can do this, we're talking. And then that's where it started to just get so crazy, when my goal to start to where I could get to that point where I could leave being a police officer and going in full time in the business was, at that time, I think I was making like $44,000 per year. And I was like, if I can make that much in revenue per year, that makes sense with what she's making to step foot out the door. And we weren't there right away. That first year I left, we were about 10,000 short, but we just really had a lot of faith in God and believed that he was going to push through and help open doors to other customers to get to different accounts and stuff like that on the way.
Wow.
And you were working both. So he worked third at that time.
Oh, you were doing both.
I mean, he was running on 4 hours a sleep. It's the grind for sure at first.
How long were you doing that? How long were you sleeping 4 hours? I mean, I'm assuming and Brooke was deployed at this time too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was just for the 6 months that she was deployed. But I would say for probably about 3 years before we even started the LLC, I was working third shift and getting home at 7 and then working till 11, then getting back up at 2 to 3 in the morning till I could get somebody to help me part-time to start building more accounts.
Yeah.
But,
wow. How long did it take for you to be able to hire somebody part-time to help?
It took about 2 years for me to get to that point. And it's crazy because we've always grown about 100% every year.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah. And even this year was another 100% growth. So
it's learning the strategy behind it, the efficiency, and then, time management quickly is when you don't have a choice. You get going.
Figure it out.
Then,
100%. It's sink or swim, And I think that this is cool. If you guys don't mind me leaning in a little bit here.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. This is why I love doing this. Like, the stories of entrepreneurship, especially as related to faith and family, like, it's so cool to me because at some point in time, and this isn't trying to over spiritualize anything, because this is a very practical point, but at some point in time, you guys had to take the momentum and then make it work. Growth, I think people don't realize, like, growth truly brings new problems. And to get certain levels of business, you got to do things, you got to think differently. Like, what you guys thought success was 6-8 years ago is completely different, right, from what it is today. And so what was, I guess, when you guys got to the point where it's like, holy smokes, like, this is a business, right? You kind of can grind your way there. You can kind of hustle your way there.
Yeah.
But then at some point, systems have to come into place, or like structure. And I think that's probably where Brooke comes into play, right?
Absolutely.
Talk to me, and I want to hear Dan. I want to hear, like, what is Dan first and then Brooke. Dan, what does it mean to have Brooke on this team so she can, like, because I can only imagine it's like, that's your problem. Like, this is your skill set. This is your thing. You take care of this. And it's probably this weight off your shoulder and confidence. Like, what was that like introducing her into the fold? And then I want to hear the same thing from Brooke.
I mean, right away, it was just a breath of confidence because she knows leadership. And you're looking at the next business coach right here. I guarantee it. I mean, she is amazing. And
I believe it.
It's not just what she did with this company. It's just naturally people will come to her and ask her business related questions because she just has that mindset. She knows exactly what we need to do. It's structure wise, leadership wise. So when she came on and really in my opinion, in what we do, it's about $1 million, I think, of revenue per year. Once you hit that mark, you're going to get into, you need systems, procedures, you need, your operations, you need a lot of these things to get past that $1 million mark. So her expertise, like, man, I couldn't imagine trying to do all these things and try to build those things, those processes. And it would have been so crazy. I mean, it was amazing to have her on to get to that point.
Amazing. Yeah. Brooke, what was this like for you?
Yeah, I think it was knowing your lane too. I think we do well now. I mean, at first it was figuring that out. And of course, every couple will say you're going to cross each other's lanes and butt heads. But I think it gave us a good way forward to know each other's lanes. I knew I was maybe a little bit more strategic in that. And he was very good at operations. Like, he knew how to do it. He loved being out there in the field, having a good day's work. Sweating, getting dirty, being in there with all of his other employees too. Whereas I just love the operational piece. And then we brought in operations, a director of operations, which also like-minded mindset, so that we could both, collaborate together, and it just blew up from there. So SOPs we're both black and white people. So then it was just, hey, how can we most efficiently build a process for this so that we can move on to the next problem or find a solution for something else. So that helped big time, is for myself to work directly with our director of ops so that we could build that. And then Danny could be out there in doing sales and growing the company, and as well, teaching and building.
Probably training too. Do you do training too, Dan?
I'll do some training. I love to do the sales part. I love to go door to door and talk to people face to face. But I really love training, and there's another part of we could go down to with training, just the younger generation coming on board and not knowing how to do a lot of the things we do, and we get the opportunity to help train them and make them better. And so I do love to do that part as well.
I love this. I want to go back to this thing that you guys said. It kind of jumped out to me. I didn't want to interrupt though. The knowing your lane thing. That has to be one of the primary things you guys either naturally discussed or had to figure out early on, because business. Quick story, if you don't mind. My wife started this tattoo shop, right? And it was this thing where it was like, I don't want to run a business. I'm like, I'll do the business stuff for you, right? And initially I went in and I'm like, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. And she's like, if you want, go for it. But like, I just want to tattoo and I want to create an experience, and I want to be able to, create an experience like unlike a tattoo shop, right? She had a vision, right? But every other business thing was not her lane, right? She's like, I'm not doing this unless you do this thing for me. So we kind of just had this understanding going into it. But what was it like initially? Was that something you guys kind of naturally just kind of gravitated toward just because you guys have been together? Or was that something that you guys had to work out? Did you have friction early on? What was that like?
Well, I think
I tell what you're willing to tell, I suppose.
I think naturally she knew her lane. She knew which way she was going, but then sometimes I jump over those. And that's when I found out really.
It's always the guy's fault. I promise. The same thing.
Yeah, I'm not scared to tell you. That's my thing. I'm not scared to tell him. When
hey,
my lane.
back over here, buddy. This is mine over here.
Yeah. I think it came natural though, for sure, for us.
Okay, that's what I want to ask. Like, the natural thing is so cool because it speaks to your guys' relationship. How long have you guys been together?
15 years.
Yeah, we'll celebrate. 10 years business, 15 years of marriage this year. So that's
wow! Congratulations. That's
thank you.
I love that. You guys know each other very well. I mean, somewhat ways grew up together in a lot of ways, right? Like, there's something that happens when you know somebody in a healthy marriage where it's like new challenges kind of end up happening somewhat naturally and synergetically. When you guys first got started and started, having different association of roles and different responsibilities, is that when you guys really started seeing the business really scale? Like, what were those early days like in the growth of your business?
I think so. Yeah, we scaled heavily when we both were in our lanes working that. And then we were able then to teach our crews and our leads and foremans what their roles were going to be moving forward. So we weren't always like that. Everybody did everything kind of. So
I see. So you guys around that time, you guys like it helps you guys almost delineate roles. Like you coming
Right.
in, you brought structure. Okay, I see.
Right.
I see.
Yep. And then even like we were really working more as a team at that point, because like when she was active duty military, she was super busy involved with that. But when she came on, she was like, oh my gosh, okay, that makes sense why you do that. So she knew the leadership, she knew all those things, but she was learning what landscaping and mowing and what goes on in the day to day. So we were working together as a team at that point. So.
It made me appreciate what he was doing
Yeah.
instead of seeing a landscape job and being like, you didn't do that today. You know, I saw what goes into it and what the steps that were needed. And it gave me a greater appreciation for our team and for him and what he needs to do.
Wow. I love this. So I want to ask you guys, like, you guys have grown exponentially, like 100% year. Like that's like unheard of numbers, right?
Yeah.
What was the scaling part like? Like, what does that really look like when you guys, I mean, you guys went literally from a part-time, we'll call it a hustle. I always tell my little brothers, your grind is the thing you do for 40 hours or more a week on a regular basis. Your hustle is the extra thing to get you to where you can do your ideal grind full time.
Yeah.
What was it like? Like, how did you guys grow that much? How are you doing it? Is it just quality of service? Are you, do you just love knocking doors? Obviously, the systems put it in place so you can actually work on growing the business versus trying to manage the day-to-day and trying to sell and trying to do the service. I can imagine that played a huge role, but how do you guys achieving 100% growth year over year? I mean, that's got to be like the secret sauce, right? Talk to me about it.
So, I mean, first thing, we have to give credit to God, because I mean, without him, doors would not have opened. Communications with different customers would not have happened. And just to see where we were from where everything is now, it's just really is amazing to see what he's done when we really put him first in our business and our marriage and our lives. And so we got to give credit to him. But I mean, I would just say it was just really just like not just doing the work, but just getting out there and just not being receptive or waiting for people to call for work. It's just going out, doing cold calls, going to any kind of contacts we could to start drumming up business. And then along the way, it was just jumping into like-minded companies. And, I have never sat in on meetings and then just being like, and it's not even just a lawn care company. Stopping into another company that I knew that they owned a company and sitting in their meetings, see how they ran meetings, see what was important in their business, how they ran their business, and
their
then
culture,
their culture,
how
and
they treated people, all that.
Yeah.
And
the mastermind group too. Was that a part of that?
Yeah.
So that was about a year and a half ago, jumping into that maybe. And that was really amazing just to see like-minded business owners, and a lot of them I had already spoke to before that group started, and got a chance to really listen about their businesses, to really kind of get some nuggets from them as well. And then that was just a bonus to be a part of that group, to see some of the ones I had never met, and see some of the information that they were bringing. So that was really neat and unique as well.
Yeah. I think it's the intentional feedback we get from those leaders as well. If you're not getting feedback, you're not growing. So it's really getting around people that want to see you grow, first of all, and secondly, is going to give you honest accountability and feedback so that you can grow. I mean, it can hurt, but it's going to help you in so many ways. And we have a good 3 couples that own businesses too. And, kind of are a husband and wife team that we're like, give it to us straight. Like, what is this? We can bounce ideas. We can bounce different things off of them. And man, that's helped so much in our journey as well.
Yeah.
So you guys, I just quoted you here, Brooke. Intentional feedback, like this. There's feedback and there's intentional feedback. I want you to wreck me. I want you to tear me down right now. Let me know what I'm missing. Which in business, I see so many young entrepreneurs who are just so passionate, but then they lack competence. And the passion can get you so far, but then you need to be able to mold that momentum that you've achieved through passion with the intentionality of competence and just knowing what other people are doing successfully, implementing that, being able to implement new systems, making room for new team members. And that's really how you guys scale. And it sounds like you guys are just very, very intentional about that. As far as these people who you're talking to, like, it sounds like you just have a lot of the right people in your corner, but you went out and you found them. You didn't, like you said, like even to sales, like that's one thing to not wait on inbound calls and leads, but like going and getting them. Same with learning the business, right? You cannot scale into new territory without knowing what you're building, right? And, you know, Steve DeTrey, I know you guys know Steve. He recently shared this phrase with me. In business, you oftentimes have to build the plane in the air. Which is like, you know, it's up and running and it's kind of scary, but we got to figure it out because this thing's going to come down if not. And the bigger the business gets, the more you have to add certain structure and pieces to that plane so that it can fly without you guys doing every single thing. And so as this transition happens and you guys are kind of building out your team, you're scaling, you have, you know, people in your corner, you're asking questions and how to scale and what this looks like, what you guys are doing wrong, what you guys are doing right. In that process, is there some sort of green light or some sort of like expansion of vision, like, oh man, we can achieve so much further, so much more than we have? Like, what was that process like where it was like, okay, I'll ask this, was there a point in time where it's like, oh man, this isn't just something to supplement our income, I think we can really scale this thing and help people, offer jobs, and even maybe acquire companies, whatever the case might be? Like, what was that? Did you guys have that aha moment? Like, oh, we're not even thinking big enough. And what did that look like?
Yeah, I think really it started when we started hiring people. And then like it became real when we're like, our first hire into our second hire, like it wasn't the sense of us bringing somebody in to just help us do the work. It was like, that's our responsibility, that we provide for their family, that we grow to help them grow. So that was where it really started. But then once we really started to build our customer base and then bring on more people and people started to run their areas, it was just, you know, we were growing so much. That's when we started getting to a business coach. And that was very, very helpful at that point.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And we didn't just like take the first one. I mean, we did our research. We met with different coaches and felt the right one that wasn't just business related. Like they had extreme faith as well to match. They were a couple entrepreneur and then same as us. So
and industry masters almost. They were in our industry. We talked to a lot of owners that, you know, business owners, which they are incredible to talk to and kind of bounce things off. But we knew we wanted to hone in and focus on our industry. And because we were strategizing and figuring out what direction we want to go in. So we knew that was who we needed to talk to, was a coach in our industry, as well as like-minded couplepreneur, you know, had heavy in his faith as well. And it was just green light instantly when we got to know him.
What was it like? Because the more that I work with other businesses by nature of what Holy Hill Media does, and in getting into some of the coaching, like myself, for smaller companies and freelancers, what I've recognized is that industry coaches end up being some of the most profound, pivotal moments, finding the right industry coach, because they just know what you're doing. They know the ins and outs of the industry. Did you guys see a different, I guess, how much growth what was that growth like? Like, did they help you just settle into better systems, streamline systems? Was it just having somebody in your corner to ask questions? Like, what was growth like after you guys found that industry coach?
I mean, I would say it was more confidence early on, because of like, hey, we actually are doing really good, and because they're dissecting your company and saying like, wow, man, your numbers are, I mean, they're looking at your P&Ls and everything looks amazing. So to hear that, and you're like, okay, we're doing really good.
We think we don't know anything all the time.
Well, the thing about it is like staying there, right? Is like being in this place. It's like being open to learn as if you know nothing, but then obviously mastering the skills along the way, right? And I think that's probably a huge kudos to you guys. I think that's a huge element and skill that a lot of times it's really hard to, I mean, it's easy to find success and be like, we know it all, and then kind of get stuck in the ways, and then it hinders the next level of growth. And so one of the things that I know from knowing you guys, but also from what you're saying just in this conversation, is just the leadership and how much that not only has affected your guys' ability to grow, but some of the things you guys are passionate about.
Yeah.
Talk to me. And Dan, you mentioned earlier, just the leadership with your young guys, bringing them in, being able to mentor them and stuff. Like, what does leadership look like for you guys as a focus for a company, for your team? How do you use that to grow your company? How do you use that to make it more healthy? What does leadership conversations look like between you two?
Man, I would say right away, there's two different types. Obviously, our younger generation, and bringing them on, and a lot of these kids don't know how to do near anything at all with any kind of equipment. Even driving a truck with a trailer, and seeing them on day one, just with so much fear and scare of just like backing a trailer, and really being able to either myself, but we have an amazing team now that like, they are taking on leading these kids, training these kids, and just like realizing that like you can't just hire, and this is things I've done in the past, hiring a kid and throwing them in a truck or a trailer saying, hey, come meet me uptown, and not realizing like how that training is so important, which is something that, she helped when she came on, realizing we need these things, we need this training. So that's the beginning part of it. But then also here just this last year, hearing back feedback from the customers, one of the guys we hired, seeing him progress in a positive way and seeing him grow is really kind of a reward. We're getting feedback from customers saying like, hey, this individual worked for another company and it was just horrible experience. But now since he's came to Straight Line, he has changed and he has grown. And as you can just see night and day, he is an amazing person.
Wow.
And I just want to tell you guys that, like, just to see what's going on with some of the people out here and how they're growing.
That's got to feel good hearing that.
Yeah. And it's just like, not only do you want to help grow the company, but man, if you can put people first and just really help grow them in any way to make a better life for their family as well, that's a reward right there.
Come on. That's so good. You guys, you get the people thing. And I think it's so interesting because when you have people, whether that's employees or you're serving people, whether that's B2C or B2C companies, like I think so many people miss the value and the need for people skills to actually care about people, empathy. And I know that's at the core of you guys' faith, but even as business owners, like that makes the difference. And how good is it the first time that you get good feedback and you weren't even there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's got to feel good. And so I want to ask about this training. Brooke, you brought this different standard for training into the mix because, and I'm going to assume, not to put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming you wanted to create the standard up front.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, right now I'm my director of operations, Maggie, and myself, we're training a new project manager, Bella. She's fantastic. And it's like, working with that, even prepping to create that training outline, it was like, let's establish, and this has always been the goal in training, but let's establish the standard up front. So I'll go over culture, team. I want you to see everything. I want you to know how we do before I even show you what to do.
Yeah.
And then that translates into such a more smooth transition into the company, because at that point, character, culture, and focus are the first things we talk about. And then they take those skills in that context, into how they do what they do, which is fundamental. Yeah. What's the training process for you guys? Like, I mean, and even the hiring process, like, are you guys praying to get about that together? Do you guys make that decision together? What's that look like?
Yeah. So I know we run numbers right away to figure out, hey, how many are we going to want to bring on, especially when we get into the seasonal work, because we are a seasonal company as well. But yeah, we have an onboarding process. I kind of vet them before they even come in to make sure they fit our vision. Do they fit our mission, vision, same culture, like-minded type of people? We're innovative people. So, hey, do we have that innovative personality together that we're not just going to see a problem and do nothing? We're going to come up with a solution along with it. So making sure we all align correctly. We do one-on-one interviews as well. So I can kind of get that feeling, the vibes type of thing too.
Yeah.
They can come out here and see the company. We do a walkthrough afterwards, because that is one of our big things. We want people here that want to be here. We just don't want somebody that doesn't, just out here for the job.
Easy job.
True. Yeah. We want to know you love it too, and invest in you, because that is our big piece. We then will give back to you and invest into your leadership or your families or your income. Was one of the big things. And I do some heavy praying over them and making sure the doors open for what needs to open. And if they don't, that's okay. The big thing that we've realized is, hey, doors close, and that's okay. That could be best for everybody. And being okay with that. So yeah, that's kind of, we do an onboarding. Again, they come on, they do on the job training, as well as through our software, we do use like a green yes training. So they're going through videos to kind of just get the basis of understanding what is part of the job right away before they go out and do it. So they're getting a good understanding of just the equipment, what they'll be doing, the expectations we'll go over. So just going through a few of those videos right away, and that we're kind of hoping to extend that even more, that we then can bring on a trainer, that they're going through it and answering questions. But then at the end of that, there is a little bit of, testing kind of too. So to see if they understood what was being asked, so that when they do job training, they're, we do a lot of equipment that somebody could get hurt on, and just making sure the safety's there, making sure all the standards are up to par before we throw anybody out. We'll do the training, and then just onboarding, making sure their pays, right away. That's like my worst nightmare, is to bring somebody on and not being able to pay you for the next, 2 weeks or so. Just making sure that's tight, and having good communication with everybody has been the key for me.
That's awesome. It's really cool how intentional you guys are about the training process, because that's so big. Like, you can have the right person with the wrong training, and that's your fault, right? As owners. And so it's super cool. I love this concept of video trainings. I want to pick your guys' brain about this on another conversation because I want to do some of that stuff too. Video trainings right now, mine is like pretty much directly on the calls and training them, but I love that. And so I want to go to a point you guys said earlier. You kind of, as business owners, knowing when to hire is such a hard thing to do sometimes, especially as a seasonal business. Like timing, revenue, like we're anticipating growth, but that's not here yet. So it's like, how do you guys decide when it's time to hire, when it's concerning like finances, and especially in a seasonal company?
I mean, I just think, well, we just got a call this morning about our projections for this year, and looking at what we want to grow or how we want to grow. We need to hire this many people to get us to that point. Because I mean, obviously we need to sell so many dollars to get to that goal we want to hit, but we need to hire this many people to make that goal happen.
So you guys are almost hiring before the influx then, essentially.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then how do we grow to that point is this amazing marketing company that we hired.
Who might that be? Let's go. Oh man, which is a whole nother thing. I really appreciate you guys trusting us to help you guys hit those goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I still remember when I had talked to you last year. I think we were on a phone conversation, all three of us, and we were talking about doing the marketing for us. You're like, well, when we get started, be ready, because your phone is gonna ring off the hook. Yeah. And I was like, well, we better get some stuff ready.
Well, it's a thing too. Sometimes we'll bring, we've had clients in years past where like I've learned to say that up front, because sometimes it's like, hey, we're at capacity now. I'm not sure we need any more marketing. I'm like, it's kind of not how this works. What I mean? Let's get ready to grow, guys. But I love it. I love it. You guys, the intentionality is, I just think that's such a huge word for you guys. Intentionality of growth, intentionality of training, intentionality together. And I want to kind of come back to this couplepreneur, as you guys say, this whole concept. We've heard some of the pros and how you guys can work together and how you guys kind of work together naturally, but let's kind of pull back the veil a little bit. What are some of the hard things?
Yeah. I'd say some of the hard things that it's always here. I said, we rise and we fall together. Sure. So it's finding that happy medium where if one's down, the other's building each other up, and finding that way to keep growing together has been a big learning lesson for us, because we weren't always like that either. We both were down and down for the count, but and you're still mom and dad and all these other
Yeah.
things. Life still goes on. So it's learning that way. And then we run our company out of our home right now. So it's always here as well. So it's always here, but it's always here type of thing too. So it was a huge thing for us to buy some land this year and be able to move out of our home then and be able to grow in that way.
Yeah, that was our big goal last year.
Yeah.
Was to either find a location or to buy a property that we could build at. And, you know, it was something that we really prayed about a lot and did a lot of searching. And we found a really amazing location, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
That's so cool, guys. Well, congratulations on that. I mean,
Thank you.
what a year you guys already just got started, right? Like 10-year anniversary for work, 15-year anniversary together, and a new location. That's incredible. What are the feelings like right now? Like, that's exciting, but talk about let me just say this. One of the things that I love doing, and I appreciate how honest and transparent you guys are, because one of the things I like doing in this podcast is like, let's talk about the things that are practically valuable for people. And sometimes it's just relatability. And we can't do that when we're only talking about like the sunshine and the rainbows. We have to talk about the real struggles, because entrepreneurs, they relate to those better than they do the success often, right?
Yeah.
So this is exciting, huge year. What are their nerves? Is there any fear? Is there hesitation? Are you guys just kind of like, hey, we've seen this, done this. There's really not any of that. What are the butterfly feelings going into year 10?
I feel like we, you know, obviously there's still some nerves with any kind of growth that you do. But just really, I would say that any kind of nerves, just because we just bought that property, is just making sure that everything goes accordingly to plan, you know, the zoning, all those different things. And then hiring the right people this year.
Yeah.
And then just really continuing to grow our culture has become very important.
Yeah. Yep. I think so too. You know, when you build a company from the ground up, we didn't have anybody that walked us through anything. It was kind of us both learning at the same time together. So that is such a blessing and a curse type of thing too, because we're learning and failing and figuring it all out and all that stuff too. But I just think that's a testament to our journey as well. And we both have each other hand in hand to keep moving. I don't think we're kind of crazy, because I feel like in entrepreneurship, you don't have you're going to fail, but you don't really fear failure you don't
anticipate it. Yeah.
We're going to make it work no matter what gets thrown at us. We'll pivot and change and adapt to whatever is needed. And I think we both kind of have that crazy mindset a little bit, which has been extremely helpful. But I mean, there's a lot of prayer at the end of it too. So that's where, you know, we both will lay in bed at night and kind of say our worries, talk about our risks, talk about some of the thoughts that we had for the day, and just know we got to give it to God, and the best thing will happen. It's not going to end without the best thing happening. So, and praying for each other, man, we didn't learn that early in our marriage, but praying over each other when he might be down. I can pray over him when I'm down. He's speaking life and praying over me. And I think that's been a huge strength in our success too.
That's so cool, you guys. You know, it's so interesting because as an entrepreneur, you know, my wife is too at this point, almost, because it's like, I guess I'll take blame for it, but she's risen to the challenge, and she's so good at it, and she's such an empathetic leader. She has a vision and she has a standard. I love that about her. But we are two different people.
Right.
And so, you know, at the end of the day in business, I might be a little bit more quiet, or she can see it. I'm kind of wearing the stress a little bit, even if nothing bad happened, just a lot of good, busy, you know, crazy time. But the ability for when my wife will stop me and say, you know, let's talk, or really tell me what you're feeling, what you're thinking right now, or even just let me pray for you really quick. It's so cool. And I guess, man to man, Dan, I can't imagine how amazing that feeling is to be able to say, like, not only my wife, but my business partner, like, has my back, not only practically in our marriage, but spiritually as well, because this burden is not meant to be carried alone. For one, this is why it's so important to have community, but how amazing is it to be able to have that community in your own house who has the context of what you guys are going through for each other. It's so cool to hear that. And I want to ask this question too. When you guys are praying for the business, what does that prayer look like? Because I think even for even Christian entrepreneurs, sometimes it's hard because, God, can I pray for more? Can I pray for success? You've blessed me so much already. Like, is it bad for me to ask for growth and expansion and more? Or I know that that's kind of a poverty mindset, to think that like God doesn't want to continue to bless us. Of course he does, especially if we're keeping our business under the grace and in the direction of the Lord, but also in the sense of saying, you call me to steward this thing.
Yeah.
Why would I not? Right. And so what do your guys' prayers look like? I think that would be helpful for entrepreneurs, either that are, Christian entrepreneurs, or just folks who need to throw up a prayer from time to time. What does the prayer look like for you guys for the business?
So I think really what you were talking about is just a huge misinterpretation with a lot of people's thinking that oh, God doesn't want to just give me things. I want to be humble, but like, if you look at it, like, he's our father and we're his children. And for your own children, what do you want to do on Christmas Day? You want to give them a gift and see their reaction, because that reaction is priceless, because you care for them and you want to help them succeed. And just to see how they're so excited, God's the same way. You are doing your best to try and live out his ways and try to develop his kingdom. And then he's so proud of you as a father. But the things that you are doing, and to see that he can bless you with something, not only that's materialistic or something that helps grow the company, but he knows your thoughts and he knows where you're going to go with this company. And if it truly is to develop a better culture, to help grow people, like, he's going to pour out the floodgates. Like, he's going to help you grow because you're intentional about growing. You're intentional about people. So like, even like praying before this podcast, like, I think, God, help us be intentional to speak about you and how you help us grow and how you are important in our lives. And then even with the business, God, help bless this company so that way we can bring other like-minded people that really just want something great for their families, for their growth, and just for the culture, to bring like-minded people together. Because man, it is just intoxicating when you have awesome, amazing, hardworking people around you, because that's the type of culture that we are bringing. And then just hearing customers say like, man, your team is just, they're hardworking, like from the time they get here to the time they leave. It's just a testament of what God can do.
Yeah. Yep.
I love that.
I think also when God knows you're going to steward what he gives you, he's going to keep pouring as well, because we love to sponsor, we love to give, we love to do that to the younger generation, just because it builds character. It builds, something they may not have been given or gotten in their life as well, and kind of might push them to that. So we love speaking that into them and giving them some sort of way forward so that they can be pushed or have some courage to step on to the next journey too. And I think God's been faithful in that as well, because we are stewarding that in the way we should. I mean, we pray every day of where should we put this money, or where should we put this time that we might have. And it is into the generation, next generation. It is into our employees. It is into our company, which God's been truly faithful in that too.
That's amazing. You guys are community builders too. That's huge, man. It's huge, huge, huge. And I think that one of the most, and I would probably, not to speak for you guys, but I can imagine the community building, whether that's the covering of entrepreneurs praying for you guys, whether that's, your industry coach, whether that's the people you're mentoring. Community building expands a brand very practically and spiritually, but very practically as well. It expands the brand, not just from an awareness standpoint, but it all optimizes one another. You guys have a covering, therefore you're optimized, therefore you can optimize the folks under you. Covering to the leaders, to those that you're leading. So it's amazing. One of the things I want to go back to really quick, just relevant to the prayer stuff, is this absolute dire need to continue to surrender things back to God, because entrepreneurship can get heavy, as you guys know, and being able to even growth, it becomes sometimes you get imposter syndrome, or, when times are hard, you start doubting yourself again. And there's just so many things that we're just not meant to carry alone. Specifically, sure, not, we can share these things with people, but also with God, surrendering these things constantly to God and saying, this is yours. And what that's done for me is just like peace and confidence, knowing that the creator of the universe is working on my behalf.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And being
Right.
open to the spirit if he wants to correct me or slow me down or speed me up, you know what I mean? And so that surrender thing it's just so big. And so when it comes to you guys and, you know, growth going into this year, obviously you guys are praying. Obviously you guys are seeking wise counsel. When it comes to your team and when it comes to your business, do you guys intend, I want to pivot a little bit, do you guys intend to grow your services, or do you just plan to do more of what you're really good at? And I think for the listeners, it would be good to just break down specifically what you guys offer first, and then talk about whatever growth you might intend to have this year.
Yeah, so we do a variety of different things. Obviously, we do lawn mowing, lawn applications. So we do a lot of commercial properties. We maintain their properties, whether it be just doing the combination of the snow removal, mowing, lawn applications there for their properties. So that way they can just focus on running their day-to-day operations, and we just take care of the cosmetics of everything. And then other parts that we do is obviously landscaping. So we'll come into a new home build and redo all their landscaping. We'll remove old landscaping, put in new. We'll do outdoor back areas, entertaining areas. So we'll do a whole new concrete patio, stamped and colored, or broom finish. We'll do driveways, and then bring in like a pavilion or pergola. Basically, when I meet with a customer for a backyard entertaining area, I'll meet with them and face to face, and usually with their husband and wife, because there's two different dynamics of what they want.
Very true.
And so it's just sitting down with them and finding out, like, what do you guys use this property for every day? And then I can see things that they don't, whether it's like, hey, I can block this area so that house isn't in the way. Like, do you guys ever think about, like, okay, you guys have all these things that you entertain guests for, like, let's just throw a stamped and colored patio here, and then, you know, get some really nice landscaping here, so that way you just can sit here and, like, not just enjoy it, but even, like, I can get you some lilacs, or I can get you some lavender that you can smell that stuff while you're sitting out
Like the
here.
experience,
Yeah, it's an experience. Like, your house isn't meant to just seclude you inside. Like, God made these plants, God made these creations outside. Come on outside, and I'll decorate this thing so you want to sit out there.
I love it. I love that. And so, considering this year growth, have you guys considered expanding services, like adding a new service department? What does that look like? And if you don't want to reveal anything too soon, that's totally fine as well.
Well, we do have some different things that we're working on, you know, even just this week moving into the spring, some acquisition deals that we're talking about doing to really help grow our company. And then, you know, we're already doing Northwest Ohio. So we maintain like a lot of like the solar fields for a lot of schools.
Okay.
Maintain the grounds and stuff like that for those places. Moving into Toledo, really starting to grow that area.
Okay.
So if we can grow into Toledo enough to where we can open up another location out there, that'd be helpful as well. So.
Amazing. It's exciting. Probably also some nerves in there, but, you know, at the end of the day, the confidence has to outweigh the nerves. So it's the balance of entrepreneurship. So I guess one of the questions that I wanted to ask you guys directly relevant to the business is just, you know, as it pertains to reinvesting in the company, sometimes that's a hard thing for people to do, especially because every time you're reinvesting, it's for growth, which is new territory. You know, when you're reinvesting, what does it look like? Obviously, I know you sit down and you pray about it. God, you know, these are your finances. Where do you want us to put these to grow your company? Right. But also, is there a practical strategy you guys have? Is it talking to your industry coach? What's it look like when you're like, okay, we're ready to reinvest into the company? What does that process and conversation look like?
I mean, I would say right away from the beginning, like, our mindset was debt free. And still to this day, we're a debt free company.
That's awesome.
And with maintaining that status, like, it's made this point of really starting to grow after where we're at now a lot, you know, even purchasing the ground, getting a loan to do something here in the future. Like, we have so much asset buildup that there's not really a question of, hey, can they do this? Like, they already have this, so we can move forward and do the next part.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think it was knowing we weren't going to get paid for a good 6 years. You know, we reinvested everything back into the company, knowing we wanted it to grow so much. So that was a big key on myself staying where I was too, so that we could have a stable income, so that we could grow the company or fall, you know, keep learning along the way. So that was huge. Personal finances. I mean, we had some personal money saved up that once we found the land, we knew, hey, we're going to throw some of our personal money into it, and knowing God's going to be faithful in that too, because that was just, you know, sitting there too for the right thing. You know, we were out there, we were praying over the land, we were wanting to know, and I heard it clear as day. And, you know, I wanted to hold tight to that as well. But you just hear it clear as day, and you know, hey, let's throw it towards that, and the best is yet to come after.
Yeah,
absolutely. You got to apply the faith.
I think even something else that was really important to get us to this like location to run the business out of, and we have a good sized pole barn to run it out, is we flipped 2 other houses. So as soon as we got married, we moved in our first house and we started working on that house, sold that house for a profit, and then went to the second house, put all our money down on that one, redid that one, and then got to where we're at now. And it's doing all these other extra things that help us get to where we're at now.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of things that people don't see, you know, they're like, oh, you know, they just started a business, they did that. But like, we did so many things. It wasn't just 1 or 2. It was all those things combined.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. So many times you talking, I always refer to my little brothers because they always have these business questions. It's so funny because something you guys said earlier is being willing to just pivot, being willing to make these adjustments, essentially make it work. You know what I mean? A friend of mine out of New York built and sold a few apps, one to Facebook, one to All Pause, if you know All Pause. And he said it's because he's like, I've rubbed shoulders with so many entrepreneurs and, you know, been in investment meetings, and I've been around with a ton of very high net worth individuals, and the successful ones, it's not about their morning routine. It's not about a podcast they listen to. It's not about a system they bought or whatever the case might be. It's truly just about the willingness and the resilience to continue with every single step of the way, to push forward, including finding ways to grow, whether that be through, you know, real estate, a different side hustle to fuel this dream, because that's what it is. And when you guys are thinking about, you know, early on, this is, you know, you've got the houses. Was that your intent to kind of use some of that to help fuel the business, or that was just your opportunity because you guys like to stay busy? What was the, I guess, the thought process there?
So, well, she's a natural designer as well. So that's kind of how it started. But like, we were never like doing it to just try and use the money. We always knew there was something more that we were going to work towards. Really, it was just kind of amazing for the timing of the market. Like, we had sold our one house when prices were still kind of just starting to come up. So we got this property at a good deal. It's just really, and you know, I stopped myself by saying, like, we just got the perfect timing and all that stuff, you know. And I think a lot of times when we talk about timing, how that was, like, I think we robbed God for what he did in our lives, because we were praying for something. And I think normally when we pray for something that, hey, we just want a property, and we think about just like a little 1,200 square foot house, but like, God wants to give you so much more than what you're praying for. So,
yeah, I think we always knew we wanted, you know, you always level yourself too. I don't think as an entrepreneur or maybe leaders, you know, you always want that next goal. Give it to me straight, you know, keep giving it to me type of thing. So I can knock out the next goal. And then celebrating the small wins. So we made sure we celebrated that in between, so that the next one, you know, it felt good when you could get to the next one. So that was a huge case for us. But then, I think it was realizing where we're at now is, hey, we can reach more. You can play the two cards against each other too, so that you can move to the next step. What is the best way? What is the best investment? We love investments. We're both numbers people too. So budgeting and making sure we're putting things in the right places to gain capital, gain interest, gain, you know, those things that can give you an upper hand when that opportunity comes, you're on it then. So
absolutely. You know, it's funny. Have you guys ever heard of the Founders podcast?
Found it.
No, okay. I would highly recommend checking that one out.
Okay.
I think his name's David. I'm not going to quote his name because I'm probably wrong, but I've been listening to this podcast for about a year now. And what he does, he reads these biographies and autobiographies of successful entrepreneurs, and he just pretty much summarizes them and kind of teaches you about their personalities, their habits, and so many of the great minds, including Warren Buffett, and then the founder of NVIDIA and a few others. They're always talking about how important it is to just keep a main focus on your finances. One, because as Donald Miller says, when you run out of cash, you run out of runway. Yeah. And whenever you have cash, and especially when you have cash flow, you always have a business, no matter what troubles you're hitting. And so this focus on just being intentional with this planning, knowing what you have, taking inventory, and then looking ahead and seeing what works. The numbers skill is just going to be instrumental for any entrepreneur who can really get that down. And I would highly recommend any entrepreneur who doesn't, that's not their strength, get somebody in your corner as soon who can help lead in that direction. And so the next question I have, I got about 2 more questions. The next question I have is what is the difference in the things that you guys are focusing on now as a company that's scaled, essentially 10 times since when you started, 10x, right? What does it look like? What are the things you're focusing on now in comparison to what you were focusing on earlier? Earlier it was just get more business, do a good job. What are the things you guys are focused on now at this level of leadership?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously back then it was just trying to finish all the jobs, complete jobs, and trying to do them within your time period that you had. But yeah, now it's our software program, making sure that everybody is communicated clearly on what they're supposed to be doing, and then putting key players in those leadership positions and like focusing on the people more now than what we ever had.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's honing in also on our numbers. Like you said, we're big numbers people, but did we know the waste? Did we know all the ins and outs so that we, can either lower or up our margins within every service that we provide? So it was really now making sure we are dissecting, those services to the max too, because we want to give our customers the best service, the best things at the lowest cost possible for, but yet still make, it's not under in that type of thing. So it's really dissecting where we need to go, where we maybe need to pull back on, and do those extremely well. Type of thing too is not just doing them to do them because we do the service, but knowing we do them extremely well at the highest efficiency, at the lowest rate. We're paying our employees and our workers at a great cost so that we can keep them too. We know that too, is everybody has a family. Everybody needs to provide for themselves and their families. And we want to give a wage that it, can help their family, can help their growth, and that they want to work for Straight Line as well.
Absolutely. Talent's so huge. And I know that's got to be an instrumental part of you guys' success is finding the right people. Sometimes, they might say, we got lucky with this person, right? When in reality, it's like, now we prayed for this person specifically, right? You know what I mean? And so you're not necessarily surprised, but you're grateful. And so, there's this interesting thing that happens when a business goes from just the hustle to that business, that grind, like that full-time thing, that business is when somebody says, I'm not going to look at just making money. I'm going to look at how I can remove myself from this to then grow. And I think that so many times business there's this book called The E-Myth. I'm not sure if you guys have read it.
We read it.
I love that book, man. And essentially the essence of the book says you can be great at something, whether that's baking cakes, doing lawn care, doing marketing, but you don't have a business really until you can create the same standard in which you did the job with a team. Right. And that's how you scale. The scalability is being able to look at your service and almost productize it. See it almost black and white and figure out, what are my margins, like you said, Brooke? What are our opportunities to scale? How can we create a standard so that when 3 months from now, I can take a step back and I have a team? And you can't grow a business if you're in it too deeply. You simply can't. And so my follow-up question would be, what was your guys' first and second step to scale, right? The first thing, was that getting a new piece of equipment? Was that hiring somebody, the first part-time help? Was that just getting your numbers down, what was the first step to, it's like, okay, this is a step towards actually having a business versus like a freelance career?
Yeah.
I think right away was just making my first hire. Because like I was in a small business group down in the basement of one of this guy's house, and we all met and we'd share our struggles at that point with kind of like the millionaire mindset. We were down there talking, and I was like, just talking about my first hire. I don't know who it's going to be. I know I'm going to have one, and just having other people share their stories. But once we did, it was just like I said before, it's just the realness, like, hey, this is real. You know what I mean? And then throwing logos on truck at the same time, like telling everybody like, hey, we're a business, but the thing is, like, once Brooke and I say we're going to do something or we start something, we're not backing out of it. I mean, we're going to keep going. We're going to finish what we say we're going to do. So that's what, just for us coming out and hiring somebody and starting an actual company, like, we're going to learn everything about it, and we're going to excel at it. So
and then the second step was taking him out of the operations piece, the day-to-day, just like you said, doing the job so that he can grow the company versus, doing the services too. That's been a huge focus this year, is building building networking, building your pipeline, growing the company, him in leadership. I mean, we both have honed in massively in our own leadership, self-awareness, where we need to grow too. And that has been tremendous, because we know our team can't get any better unless we're getting better too. And then putting that expectation on them to continuously grow in who they are personally, professionally, and holding accountability too. But I think even hiring our operations manager kind of put us up as well, just because, I mean, he has the mindset as well for a business too. And then could bounce things off of Danny as well, give it to him straight too, learn along the way. And that's been extremely helpful.
And that was what was important with our operations manager. He's not going to tell me what I want to hear. He's going to tell me exactly what I need to know. And sometimes I might not want to hear it, but it's what I need to hear. So
Every coach. Yep, I'm sorry. Even our business coach.
He holds us accountable on a weekly basis.
We are answering to him daily, as well as getting encouragement, but as well as, just the overall package as a whole, spiritually, mentally, physically. He pushes us in ways that we didn't think we needed to. And that is a complete shift as well when you have that.
Yeah, you have somebody that's almost holding you accountable to the standard that you're saying that you want, right? It's like, hey, if you want this is how you get there, right? And you do need accountability to that. Excuse me, I love this. So how hard was it? Dan, did you have a struggle to get out of that day-to-day? Did you want to stay in there? Did you want to keep doing
it? So when I'm in front of a computer doing stuff that needs to get done, and I see the guys going out to do a big landscape job. Like, I mean, I love working out. I love being like involved in the day-to-day operations and just laughing with the guys and just making it a fun atmosphere. And it's just nothing thrills me more than that, absolutely. Like, it's very hard. But I know how important it is that if, especially if I'm doing sales, if I don't have stuff ready to go for those guys, they aren't going nowhere.
That's right.
I need to get those things in line for them to try selling more jobs, and then also where we're going to go next year, this year. I realize more and more like those things are more important for me to keep involved in.
Yeah. So if I could reiterate, just to kind of synthesize, the thing that gave you maybe the motivation or the push to keep backing out of the operations was your team. Like, hey, we got a team now. We got
absolutely
to keep getting business. So is that, am I hearing that correctly?
To get me out of it was my team, but then also not just that they were a team. I mean, they were an incredible team. Like, I was like, when I used to do a landscape job and do edging, like, I would come out and check on their work, even though like we have a very good process where we can see everything without showing up. But sometimes I just like to stop in and see how it's doing. And I'm just like, that's amazing. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they really did a really great job. Gives me that confidence, like, hey, they got that. I can go on this next thing.
Wow. I think that's one of the hardest things is people, like I said, people try to hold on, right? And it's like
Yep.
you're hurting your business more than you're helping it by
Yep.
not letting somebody who could be more skilled at it than you
Yep.
Yeah.
get in there and do it. You know what I mean? I've had to learn that both the hard way and by leadership, but it's something that needs to happen to scale. And so my last question for you, you guys rushed on time? Are we good?
No, we're
No, we're
good.
good.
Yeah.
I've got a few that keep piling up in the back
Yeah.
of my mind. I'm like, I
We're
feel
fine.
bad, but you guys, this conversation has been so, first of all, so enjoyable, but so easy to kind of get in and see where you guys are at because you know the details. Like these things aren't, I'm not sure they're not, everything's planned out for you guys. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to see that, and it's so much easier to navigate this conversation. So I think that just speaks to you guys' leadership and attention to detail and strategy. And so to kind of lean in there a little bit, when you guys are talking about bringing in a COO, like somebody that does your operations, what was the pain point there? Because this is a new level, like hiring guys and training them to do something, you know, the actual service you're providing is one thing, but hiring somebody, a systematic hire, that's like a completely new approach. You know what I mean? What is that? What was that conversation like? What was, you know, what was the pain point, or even maybe not a pain point? Maybe it was saying, I know where we're going and I know we need somebody to help us take us there. What was that conversation like?
Well, I mean, honestly, I believe it was, again, it was God focused, because I met our director of operations on a mission trip about 4 to 5 years ago.
Okay.
And we were down in Houston, and he actually was operations of Fortune 500 companies. So he's very, very educated in how to run operations. And so it really wasn't as hard as what you think, because I got to know him real well. But it was just really trying to, I guess, make sure that we were good to keep him on full staff. I mean, that was a huge, I mean, obviously hiring a first employee laborer, that was difficult. But to really like make that investment, like, hey, we're really going to scale. Like, we're not doing this because we just want to maintain day-to-day operations. We have a growth mindset after this.
The day-to-day operations. I want to lean in here a little bit. I think it's so valuable for people to get perspective of under the hood. It demystifies businesses, and it to me, that's what's been so helpful. Being honestly, this podcast has been so helpful for me because I can look under the hood of everybody's business and learn from them, right? And so it's kind of dual purposed. But what does your guys' day-to-day look like? Like, what are the regular meetings? What are you guys talking about? What does operational leadership look like in Straight Line?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the question is how much more it's grown over the year. Because early on, you know, we didn't really have meetings. Like, even right now, we're in snow removal. So when the guys go out, do snow removal, and we would lead these at first, but now our lead in this snow and ice division, like, he's doing his own after action review. Like, hey, how did everything go? What mistakes did we have? How can we do better? What equipment problems did we have? And really being intentional every single time the guys go out, because like when we grow and what we do in our industry, there's so much waste. And if we can cut that waste to really grow our bottom line, I mean, that's what's more important than growing our top line. And that's just a small part of like how we get to that point.
That's good. I gotta lean into that one. So it's so funny because that's to telling myself a little bit when I was young, and like I started this business when I was 25, Holy Hill Media when I was 25. We'll be 5 years old in sorry. It's the second week of February. We'll be 5 years old. So half the age of Straight Line.
Good.
But for the longest time, I was just thinking of, you know, and to some degree, I think you do need to just be top line focused getting started. But then there's this pivot where it's like you're leaving a lot on the table, which is making you be less competitive with pricing, and not knowing your numbers is a nightmare waiting to happen. And so when you guys are looking at these things, the inefficiencies, can we just zoom in a little bit there? Because this is huge. Like being able to, you guys have after service reporting from your team, which is probably what nobody in your industry is actually doing. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is what you get when you work with people who work with Fortune 500s, right? Like they get the thing, right? What are you guys looking at for inefficiencies? Is it time spent on job? Is it wasted materials? What is that waste you're looking at, I suppose?
I mean, it could be something as simple as like you're not going through your I mean, like, so when she came on, she helped develop checklists for the guys. Hey, at the landscape crew, make sure you got all these things, you know, because if they drive into town, forget a shovel, and they got to come back, you know, fuel wise, that's $40 plus whatever. And so we're like, if you forget something, just go buy a shovel from Menards, you know what I mean? Because like you're gonna spend more money coming back. You know, there's a lot of other things.
Waste, efficiency, time.
Yeah.
We just had a few trucks stayed uptown, you know, for snow, waiting to see, because weather, you know, we're weather permitted too, especially snow and ice season. So we keep our trucks up there and just wait, you know we might be wasting time wise, but yet we're not wasting fuel and energy, all those other things that align with it. If we are wanting, and what we do want to do is be there on the spot. You know, we want to be ready. We want to be proactive versus reactive in what we're doing. So that's kind of the waste that we're looking at, is the proactiveness and being there, as well as fuel, materials, time, you know, all those little things that you forget in there, is really, really what we dissect now.
Yeah. And even like one of the things that she brought on is, and obviously training, but like, we'll have our guys here, I would say about the next month is usually kind of a little bit of transition time for our training, getting guys ready. Safety training is like, we'll have every single person that works here put on a training class for everybody else. And when you teach a class, well, for one, you're going to be scared unless you're just comfortable in that setting, and you're going to have growth, right? Because you're scared, you're growing. And then once you get through that, you're like, wow, that wasn't that hard. But also when you teach that class, you know how to do that. You know what I mean?
It makes you know it.
Yeah. So if somebody has an issue with something, like, hey, guess what? I know the perfect class that you're going to teach today.
I love it. I love that learning model. It's like, hey, you don't know it. Guess what? You're going to teach it now. It's so cool. I think it was my PM that just said this. Bella, you know, the whole Einstein quote, really, you don't really know something until you can teach it to a second grader. You don't have mastery of that thing. So I love that idea of like, it forces you to know the process, because if you're going to teach it, you have to teach the process. You have to think about the details. And so it sounds like the details, it sounds like you guys really know your service and how it's done to be able to find the inefficiencies. And this reporting model is super interesting. And I think that a lot of businesses can take that and use that. When you guys are doing those reports, are you guys reviewing those together? How does that look?
Yeah. So, right now, when we first started implementing it, it was everybody together to kind of like, what's the standard, like what's the things that we need to have. And then I think she developed a paper that everything is on there. So that way they go over as their team. They're like, the lead will sit down with the whole team that went out and document everything. So that way it's on paper, so we can also look at how to change it as well. So
amazing. Okay, so this is the last question I have for you guys, and then we'll open it up to anything else you guys want to talk about. But how are you guys training or working and leading your leaders is different than training somebody that is under a leader. You know, you pour into them differently, and a lot of it almost becomes relational, helping them, you know, building them up, teaching them how to be the leaders. There's accountability there. There's pouring into them. There's hearing them, getting feedback. How do you guys go about is the difference between leading your leadership team and then the rest of the guys?
I would say, well, I mean, it's just two different ways to attack it, I guess. Like your leader, they know exactly what you're thinking. Chances are they've already led over same things. Your I would call it our laborers or our foremans, you know, I would say that for them, it's telling them the reason why we're doing these things. Like those are the reasons why we are doing this job, or even letting them know like, hey, this is the person that we're doing this job for. and this is something that happened in their life, and this is why this is going to impact them so much.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's because they have different things that they need to do their job well.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting because, you know, Maggie, our director of operations, that conversation with her is very different than a conversation I might have with, you know, a specialist on the team who's doing, you know, this specific thing, because the leadership, to be excellent in the roles, require two different things. So those conversations change, you know. It's super interesting. So thank you guys. What else is on your guys' hearts? What's God saying? Anything that you would share with any other entrepreneurs who are at a place in time in their business where they're like, okay, we've done the thing, we've got some revenue. Maybe this person is in a place where they've got the revenue, they know it's a full-time thing, but they're really still trying to break through to that, like, I need to make what I made before I quit my job. And they're just trying to break through that next level to be able to just be successful and as comfortable as you can get in entrepreneurship. Do you guys have any advice or encouragement that you would share with that person?
I think it's seek wisdom, you know, seek wisdom where you can, listen, be a sponge. You don't know everything. You don't know the best ways to do everything. If you're not understanding the why behind it too, is just seeking that and having that self-awareness for your next step, praying about your next step, and just really being focused on that. I know life happens and a whole lot of things take you in multiple different directions, but it all leads back to your mission and your vision and who you are and what you want to accomplish. So making sure every decision that you make kind of aligns with that is a big key for myself, and to go do it, go try it, you know. that's it.
Get out there.
Just put your foot out there. If you have to be a stepping stone from somewhere else to get to the next place, that's okay. Like, just keep doing it, keep being obedient in what you're called to do, but with every situation, learn something out of it, you know, no matter what, whether you've been hurt, wronged, whatever, was the best place ever. It's learning what you needed to do out of that situation. I always tease, I have that 24-hour, like, I can be mad for 24 hours, then I got to get over it and just move on.
That's good. That's a good rule of thumb.
The main piece of, you know, finding truth in what you're doing and just making sure it aligns with your next step and learning something out of it is the huge piece of it. But go do it, because you'll just never know. We told my brother, like, don't keep anything. It'll haunt you forever if you're not in there, at least playing around in it. So just dabble in it, learn along the way, ask people, seek wisdom, seek counsel, seek the feedback, even when it hurts, you know, and having that self-awareness, but just have fun. Like, don't take it too serious, and just have fun and take some time too. I think sometimes we forget to take some time and pause and get away, because that's when we get a lot of our vision and what we need to do next, is when we kind of shut off the noise and kind of pull away. We went to the mountains when I was thinking about resigning from my position, just making sure I'm hearing it correctly, as well. And we spoke to another coach out there, Jerry Meek too, just to get, again, that wisdom of, hey, is this the right direction that you're even seeing in our life too? Because we know they have a lot of care for us too. So, that's what I would say, really.
And absolutely. And I mean, she summed it up. She hit it right on the nail. I know this is so important. And I would even encourage anybody who's in that position, like, I know there's a lot of fear, but, like, man, life is too short, and part of law enforcement, seeing, you know, people come and go, whether it be their passing and being seeing those things, like, man, gosh, life is too short. And you got to ask yourself that question. If you really did get $1 million, and I guess I got to change that to inflation now. If you had $5 million,
1.2 now, 1.5, right?
what would you really do with your life? You know what I mean? And start there. And, like, and if you're doing what you want to do, or if you're working your way there, man, go find a like-minded business and just give them a call. Talk to the owner. Like, it's like, the thing is, once people become successful, once people have hit the mark, like, they are more than willing to help you. They want to see you succeed, because that's the type of person that has succeeded, wants others to succeed as well.
That's so good. You guys keep coming back to this point of like this wisdom. It's like I think so many people are afraid to ask people. Like,
Yeah.
they
Oh,
probably
yeah.
want to help you. You know, they've been through it and they want to reiterate it to you. You know.
Yeah,
Yep.
the amount of stupid questions we ask all the time.
Me too.
is, you know, it's clarity. And yeah, if you have a family, involve them in it. You
Yeah.
know, our kids are out here planting trees and out
Love
there
it.
mulching and doing everything. But and they had to have a hand in the company too, so that they can see what mom and dad are doing and not just pulling away, but they also have a role in it.
Yes.
They love it. You know, they love every piece of that. They love nurseries. They love kind of what we love too, and being a part of it. And I think that's been a success for us too, as our kids genuinely love to see, they ask about the company. They can't wait to talk about the company, you know, to people, but it's because we've shared in that love and that journey with them. And they see some of the hard conversations we're going through as well, or, you know, actions that we're taking, or a lot of risk that are involved. You know, they came out to the property as well as we were praying over it, and just kind of casting vision into their life too, of what that could do for them along the way. You know, we have one that loves working with his hands academically. You know, he doesn't know where he wants to go, but he knows he loves working and can drive every single equipment out that he has. But just kind of calling that passion out in your kids too, of just letting them see you succeed, fail, learn along the way. I think that's helped them, our kids, succeed as well. As know it's limitless, you know, there you can do whatever you want in life, but it's going to take hard work and obedience and God and each other support to get there.
It's so good, you guys. You guys, thank you so much. Thanks so much for sharing everything you have, all the wisdom, the insight, being transparent. You know, I'm really excited for you guys this year, man. And I think it's a testament to God's love, man, and his grace, what you guys have been able to do, and your leadership, your intentionality. So thank you guys so much. I'm excited to work with you guys here soon.
Yeah, we are too.
Can't wait.
Let's go. We're excited. Thank you guys so much. I think this is now episode number 42 of the Double Click Podcast.